that's worse. That's getting caught behind the compressor. Okay, so now we're in a predicament. So today we are back working on the Escalade again. What a surprise. But before we get started, if you're new here, go ahead and click the link at the top of the screen. That's gonna bring you to my Escalade playlist, and you can see all the repairs that we've done to this thing so far since I picked it up from auction for $2,000 minus fees and shipping. But we have been making good progress on this thing. Today, we're gonna be focusing on something that's pretty simple, something that's supposed to be pretty simple, just swapping out the belts, popping a couple of new pulleys on it, because this thing has a belt squeak, and it does it mostly when it's rainy outside. The funny thing is my Tahoe does the exact same thing, and for anybody who owns one of these, whether it's a GMT 900 or an 800, you probably know exactly what I mean. I've put belts, I put idler pulleys, I put tensioners, I changed the AC belt, serpentine belt on my Tahoe, everything's new. Still, when you get like a damp, rainy day, you still get a belt squeak. Like a little kind of chirp from the belt. I don't know why. This thing is doing the same thing, however, on and off, pretty much all the time. It doesn't have to be raining out. And remember, we did a lot of work to this thing. We had the water pump off, coolant was kind of spilled all over, and the belt, it just looks like crap. So we're gonna throw a new belt on it. We're gonna throw a couple of new pulleys on it. I have a new smooth idler, a new idler for the tensioner, and then I also have a replacement serpentine belt and AC belt. And that air conditioning belt's a little bit of a pain in the ass. It's a stretch belt, it doesn't use a little tensioner like the GMT 800s. So I picked up the tool for that. Hopefully that goes as planned and we could just pop that on pretty easy. Now I'll go ahead and start it up for you guys real quick. However, it figures it's not making the noise right now. Whisper quiet. Maybe I can, that's something I could replicate the noise with. Maybe a little coffee. Nope, she's silent. All right, well, we're fixing it anyway. But for anybody who, this might be their first rodeo doing belts and stuff on this, it's relatively simple. The biggest kind of pain in the ass is the alternator, not the alternator, the air conditioning belt. So let's grab a 15 for that tensioner. You just want to come in here, get on the tensioner pulley, and you want to pull this forward to slack the belt. This is a good time to also test that tensioner. This one feels absolutely fine. Get this down here, make sure we have enough swing so the wrench could come off. Okay, I thought I did. Oh, there it is. Off with that one. On with our fresh one. Yeah, but has anybody else actually like won the battle on this crap? Because I know it's not only me that has stupid random belt squeak noises. Perfect. The idler didn't come with a bolt, so there's this little retainer on here. It just holds the bolt through. I can whack this through. So this just sits back here. It's got this little kind of shoulder on it. Just transfer that over to the new stuff. This is the easy stuff. The thing that, if anything is going to fight us, it's probably going to be the air conditioning belt. The funny thing is, this is the first time I actually bought the correct tool, you know, specifically for the video. Usually I'll use, I've done it with zip ties in the past. It's not fun, but it can be done with zip ties. But I figured, you know what? Now that I actually own one of these, let me buy the tool. Well, technically I can use that tool in the Trans Am too. Yeah, because I still got to put an AC belt on that thing once I get the AC hooked up. So for our air conditioning belt, you can see there's no tensioner, there's no nothing down there. Just the belt itself. On the GMT 800, you got a little tensioner in there. That makes it, you know, relatively normal to swap the belt out. But this one has to literally be stretched on. So we're going to come in here and cut that off, first of all. Probably a good time to spin the compressor over, too, because the The AC doesn't work. Let's see what the bearings feel like. That feels fine. Clutch moves, so it's not stuck or anything. Well, the belt doesn't really look too bad. It has been changed before because it's a Gates. So, it's not the original belt. The funny thing is, too, looking at the Carfax on this, I'll probably do a video one day kind of going through it because I kind of forget what's actually on it. But I remember when I was looking at it before I bought this thing, there was multiple times on the Carfax that the belt has been replaced because of a squeak issue. And I don't know if that's just because of the typical noise that this always has or if they had other things going on. Because sometimes a lifter noise will, people can mistake that for a squeak if the lifter's getting wiped out. But that wasn't really the case on this. The valve just kind of fell apart. So it pretty much went from running fine to most likely just instant failure and just like lifter clatter. That's it. Come on. Is it working? Is it working? Fight me. Come on. Aw, dude. It's on there, but it's like it popped off the compressor a little bit. Hoping if I spin it, it'll just find its way home, maybe? Nope, that's worse. That's getting caught behind the compressor. Okay, so now we're in a predicament. Yeah, so here's what I get to deal with. Yep, look at that. It is nicely scrunched in the seam behind the pulley and the compressor body now. Looks great on that part where we use the tool. And that goes all the way around. Check that out. Yeah, it is nicely behind there. Come on. Now we're tightening the crank bolt. Okay. It's moving. It's coming out of the seam, coming out of the crevice. Yes! It's in, see, man? Look at that. It pays to buy the right tool, right? Stick to the zip ties. All right, well, there we are. The AC belt that had absolutely nothing wrong with it has been replaced. And, all that's left is to pop that fresh serpentine belt on and start it up, and still hear probably no squeak because it wasn't even doing it when we started this. Now, what I do know how to do is properly install the serpentine belt in its proper routing location. I've done these a freaking million times. So we're gonna wanna go down over the crank. Completely around the crank pulley. Come up the back of the wall. That doesn't look right. No, forget that. We want to come over the tensioner pulley. Then we'll come across to the alternator. And we'll go straight down to the water pump. And then from the water pump, that's not the water pump, that's the power steering pump. What is wrong with my head today? And from the power steering, we come up, we go around the water pump, and then lastly, we go down to the crank. And you'll notice I left the idler pulley out of that equation because that's the last stop we're gonna make when we actually, that's where we're gonna slip the belt on last. When we pry on the tensioner. And there we go. So now we'll just pull that back. We'll slide that guy down over there, and we'll have some nice fresh belts. good. All right, let's start her up. What do you know? Still no squeak. I guess that's an improvement. There's a little noise I hear. I think it's the alternator. It's kind of a little like noise that I kind of hear at startup, and then it goes away. Oh no, there it is. I'm not sure what that is. That's not the noise I was talking about. You know, as the belt noise, which is why I did all this. It's just something I kind of noticed right now. Could be the power steering pump too, but whatever, I'm not worried about it. While we're here, you might as well throw some wiper blades on it. I've had these for months. This thing actually has to go for, it's got to go for a state inspection, safety and emissions. So I kind of have to take care of a few things on it. I mean, I know the front brakes are good. Like it has, the rotor is a little meh, which shouldn't be an issue as far as like passing the inspection. But the rear brakes, they're close. And usually like around here, you can, as long as the brakes aren't like metal to metal, they can't fail you for them. However, the back brakes look like they are basically metal to metal, and the rotors look like insanely thin on the insides. So before I could get this inspected, I gotta at least throw, I already ordered rear pads and rotors, we're gonna throw them on there. There's no check engine light, so the emissions part of that is gonna be fine. I definitely want to throw something on it though, just make sure there's no, you know, make sure all the monitors are ready, which they should be. At this point, I think I have like 500 miles on it since putting the motor back together. Let's see what we got here. Ooh, look at that. Fresh Walmart wipers. Gotta love it. It appears I've made it worse. All right, so it's a few days later. I just caved and I bought a tensioner. I mean, we might as well. We were changing everything else on this belt drive. I do want to mention, if you do have a belt squeak, don't go out and just change like your idler pulleys. Your idler for the, you know, the smooth idler and the tensioner idler. I'm just doing that as a preventative measure, being this thing has like 155,000 miles on it. And those bearings do commonly kind of start to make noise and fail. So I figured it's a good time to change them. However, usually if you have a belt noise, assuming all your pulleys are like in line where they're supposed to be, which mine all feel fine. We got new water pump, new alternator, power steering pump feels fine. Usually you just swap the belt out. It gets the noise to go away, at least for a while. The gates, the green belts seem to work the best. However, that belt was on here before and it was still squeaking anyway. So I'm gonna go pop the tensioner on, see if we have any luck with that. Now this tensioner feels fine. I mean, I guess it could be a little bit tighter, but at this point, I'm just like, I changed everything else anyway. Like, I'm driving this thing. I'm going to be driving this thing a good amount. So why not just throw another tensioner on there? And if it actually happens to solve the squeak, then you know what? That's just a bonus. I don't know. I got this Continental belt. I haven't really had issues with them on my other vehicles. However, these trucks, for some reason, they're very finicky with the belts you put on them. So I'm probably going to have to end up just picking up a freaking Gates anyway. I just did, I did what I always do. Put it on backwards, of course. Looks like the little mark is falling in about the same spot. It might be a little more forward. I mean, well, technically, I think if it's more this way, it's going to be less tension because it's not springing back as far. But we'll start it up. It doesn't really mean anything, though, because sure, it'll sound fine now, and then once I start driving, it'll randomly just squeak. Well, of course, she sounds good for now, but it's probably going to end up squeaking again. I mean, why wouldn't it? I mean, if it starts doing it again, I might just try throwing the old belt back on, with the new tensioner. Because the Continentals, like the normal, the non-HD belt, like the Gates it's a Gates HD heavy duty. They seem to be thicker. I hear it squeaking already. I swear I heard like a light chirp. But yeah, the Gates belts, they seem to be thicker, so they're gonna put a little more tension on everything. However, you used to be able to get Gatorback belts. It's like a special belt. I think Goodyear makes them. It's got like weird cuts in the actual belt tread, or whatever you want to call it. And it's supposed to help with like any slight misalignment and help with any noise. I used to run them. I ran one on my Camaro years ago before I went to the blower. But it seems like now whenever you go to try to order one, at least in my experience, last time I tried to order one was for my Tahoe, and the part number was like superseded by a regular Continental belt, and I ended up getting a belt like this even though I ordered a Gatorback. I might try just throwing that back on if it starts squeaking again, and then maybe trying to get a Gatorback. But it's a very annoying issue with these trucks. Like, it's just an auto tensioner thing. I don't know. But she seems to be quiet for now. I'm gonna run it like this. And I'll definitely leave an updated comment on the video. Or I'm sure you'll hear it in an upcoming video if this thing starts squeaking again. So I'm actually in the middle of doing another video on this. I'm putting Bluetooth in this thing, but I just wanted to tack this on the end of this video. Since I put that green belt on, everything's been good with the heavy duty belt and the new tensioner. So I would avoid the Continental belt unless you get your hands like on a Gatorback. Get the Gates HD. You'll definitely be all right over the Continental just because it looks like a beefier belt. I guess it just helps, keep the noise down. But I'm still running the old, like, crusty Gates belt with the new tensioner and the new pulleys. And it's been fine so far, even since I've had a damp day. So I'm probably just going to order another, see if I can get my hands on the Gatorback. If not, I'm just going to order another nice, fresh HD green belt. And just hope it stays not making noise.